In archery, there are quite a few tools I use to make sure that both my bow and myself were ready for the shots that I was taking. Obviously, the primary tool, or equipment in this case, would be my bow. The type of bow I have is a compound bow. The difference between that and a standard bow is that the areas up here essentially allow for an archer to have an easier time holding the bow back in a drawn position, but it does make it harder to initially draw the bow. Then, another primary equipment that I used was a wrist nock. This serves to help you draw the bow without having your fingers in the way. This works by getting it on your wrist, essentially putting on the straps like this. You bring it through this loop over here, you tighten it up, then when you want to fire an arrow, you bring it through this section over here on the bow and draw it back. Then when you want to fire as it's drawn, you take your finger to the trigger, boop, and it pops off. The next equipment that I used were the standard arrows that came with my bow. They're fairly low grade, so I will upgrade in phase 2, but they come with distinct white and black markings, and the tips have proved to be fairly good in my archery sessions, standing up to about 30 meters in range. Next, what I used are paper targets. These I didn't use often, but I did use in situations such as when I was starting or during the competitions required for senior project. The more common thing I used was this more solid target with filling on the inside that was provided by my mentor. This has proved to be very useful both in individual practice and with practice with my mentor. Next, a vital piece of equipment for me were these wrenches. They were helpful as they can be used to both adjust the aim of the sight and the weight of the bow itself. Then a final useful equipment for me was this thing of wax, this stick of wax. It was useful in that it helps prevent damage to the bow when you put it on, as after strenuous use there can be wear and tear in the bowstring. And those were the tools I used.